What's happening, everybody? Welcome back. It's the Selling Portage podcast, episode 3. How are you doing today, Colin?
I'm doing very well. I'm just noticing the name on your screen there, and I mean I knew you didn't pay attention in school very much, but Ryan is a pretty simple name to spell, but
Oh, you're
I don't
going
think you
there.
quite
You're
nailed
going there.
it.
You're- Don't be bitter, seeing how it's 2 weeks in a row, and as of tonight, 3 weeks in a row, that
Yeah.
you will have been defeated soundly.
Well, here's the problem. Here's what I don't understand about the game of golf.
Most
I
of it?
went out on I went out on Sunday and I golfed probably my best 9 holes I ever golfed. Went out on Monday, wasn't my greatest, but it was still what I would consider very good. And then you and I went out on Wednesday night, and I could not hit a ball for the life of me. In fact, Portage Golf Course, hole 16, it's a par 5. How many balls did I lose that hole?
Well, I'll say this. I'll say that you're lucky that we cap at 8, because I think you would have been at about 17 by the time we were done that hole.
I think you're right. I lost 5 balls
Because
in the
it was
lake
like there was a
somehow.
giant electromagnet pulling that ball into the lake, because you lost 3 balls in the lake on the same hole.
Five.
5 balls?
5 balls.
Wow,
Oh, it
that's
was
10.
terrible. It was embarrassing.
That's 10 strokes just on penalty. Oh my
Ah,
God. That's
oh
I
well.
didn't even realize it was that bad. I wasn't even paying attention.
It is all part of the hustle, my friend.
Well, you're gonna try to up the bet this time. The loser buys dinner, not just the cart.
We shall see.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see. So you were losing at that point, and then you were really losing.
Yes.
Yeah.
So,
There it is. Tonight there will be a rematch. And of course, we won't worry too much about beating our opponents.
that's right.
That's not really what it's about, is it?
The competition is strictly between you and I.
Oh.
What
So
kind of mug you got there? Just a straight black mug?
just straight up black mug.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
don't like to use the handle on it.
So
It may
what's
have a
up?
logo that I don't want to advertise.
Oh, I see. Hooters.
So what were you saying?
um, what's going on today? It's Wednesday
Um,
morning.
making some noise here. What's going on? Let's talk about the real estate market. Of course, that's why
Okay.
most of the people that are watching this tune in. Or maybe it's just to hear our banter, or take part in the ridiculousness that we talk about every week.
For my
Um,
shirt.
what do you got going on? Because I want to hear a little bit about what you have before I get into all of the fun things that I might have going on.
Well, again, as a one of the newer guys, I'm starting to experience, some of the hiccups that can happen along the way. That was smooth. Um,
It's like a magic trick.
so I in the last couple of weeks, I have sold 3 properties, 2 of my listings and one as a buyer's agent. And I also had a possession take place in the last few days of a property I sold back in May as the buyer's agent. So um, I'm learning how the legal process works with real estate transactions. I know on the one that just had possession, you were the listing agent, I was the buyer's agent, and um, the the possession, the release of the keys came down to the wire at the last minute. So that was a little stressful, but I understand that's all part and parcel for the job that we're in. So and then yeah, I have another 2 possessions this week, and hitting some little hiccups along the way, but I think we're moving forward with everything. So it's been an exciting couple of weeks for me. After a couple slow months, everything just kind of came together all at once. So That was very exciting. Lots of paperwork, and since they all came within the same 36 hours, I had to make sure I was double checking and triple checking all of my work, so I wasn't getting any of the deals crossed when I was plugging in all the information there. So luckily, we have another level above us that double checks our work as well. So a couple minor errors I made were caught. So I appreciate that from our broker and our team, our transaction team within our broker.
So you mentioned that it came down to the wire. So it was literally 4:22 p.m. and the office closes at 4:30, and I believe it was a Friday as well.
Yes.
So we have, in order for a lawyer to give a key release. So in Portage La Prairie, we used to have the Portage Real Estate Board. We still do things like we used to when it was the Portage Real Estate Board. Now we are split between Brandon and Winnipeg. Typical practice in Winnipeg would be lawyer gets the keys for the listing. They courier those keys to the buyer's lawyer, and the buyer's lawyer hands them off to the buyer. In Portage, the realtor actually meets the buyer on possession day, generally speaking, lets them into the house, does a walkthrough, all that fun stuff, closing gifts, whatever you want to do. So we actually get what's called a key release, or it's just a letter from the lawyer. It can be an email saying you are authorized to release the keys on the specified date and time as on the offer to purchase, and we go and do that. In order for the lawyer to send us that letter, they have to have a few things. They have to have verified that the funds are in place to close. Now, that doesn't just include the money for the purchase price. It will include liens against the house. It will include outstanding bills. It will include taxes that are owing, which we'll get into a little bit later when we're talking about the tax sale that's coming up. But it has to cover all those things, and they have to verify that there is insurance on the home. So mortgage instructions need to come from the bank. The insurance company needs to notify the lawyers, and then we're clear to release the keys. All those things didn't happen until very, very late. So it was a Thursday, actually. Sorry, wasn't it?
Yeah. That possession was Friday morning.
Possession was Friday morning.
Yeah.
Worst case scenario, it doesn't get done by the end of the business day on Thursday, and they do it Friday morning. Now, that just will delay possession a little bit. It's not that big of a deal if it goes over one day, but it becomes a big deal because the lister, the seller rather, has to maintain insurance on that property until it changes hands.
Right.
And if they have canceled their insurance, or if it's winter time and they've canceled their utilities on a specific day, well, there could be a period of time where that home is not insured, or utilities are off, or whatever.
Right. Could snowball into some issues.
Could be a disaster. Normally, yeah. As far as what I've been doing in the last month, I mean, I closed over 2 million in sales and real estate in July, which was a pretty decent month.
Awesome.
I'm going to eclipse that in August, just on closings that I've already lined up. You will have seen now that this is kind of, we're recording this as if it's a week later. So I've got 805 4th Street Northwest that is now on the market, and I've got a big listing. And we're talking about the one on Wilkinson Crescent that I just put up. So check that out. That is an amazing property, and yeah, I'm looking forward to getting that one moved quickly. Although it's going to be up there in price. So.
Well, there's a buyer for everything, right?
There's a buyer for everything. And speaking of price, I did in my last update, we talked about average price drops, but there was the big listing that is actually next door to my listing that just sold. Originally was on the market for $1.2 million and sold for $875, I think.
Something like that.
Pretty significant price drop. So we have to include or exclude that from our averages in our data, because that's an outlier.
Right.
But if you took the other 4 sales, and yeah, we're in a small market, so we're talking about 4 sales for the city in a 1 week period. It's about $19,000 was the average price reduction over those 4 sales from the original list price to what they ended up selling it for. So we're seeing a shift. And while we're seeing this shift, we are now in the 30s for active listings. Inventory is going down. So it becomes more important for us to have listings, because if you have a listing, you can guarantee yourself, at least a bit, some business in the future.
Right.
If you don't have that, well, you're relying on buyers, and the market is weird right now.
Yeah.
The market's weird. Like, even
Well,
though
that's the lowest amount of inventory since I've come online as an agent that I've
since
seen
the
in our city.
pandemic, for me.
Wow.
And in the middle of the pandemic, you could list a house. Like, the listings were super important because you listed a house and it was gone 2 days later.
Yeah.
And for basically whatever price they wanted to slap on it.
Yeah.
This is not the case. Even with an inventory shortage, you're starting to see lower and lower offers come in, and people are taking these lower offers in a lot of cases. So we'll see what's up. The ones that hang on can get what they want, but in some cases, the market, some neighborhoods, people know what they want and they know what they want to pay, and there needs to be some flexibility. There are some out there that, we've seen frequent listers that have had stuff on the market for, in some cases, years, often on the market, the same home, same seller, same home.
Yeah.
The market is speaking to you. Your price is too high.
Right.
However, if they wait long enough, and we could be talking about years, generally the market will catch up and they'll get what they want, but it will take an incredible amount of time to do that.
Right. And in that time period, there is a pretty incredible amount of carrying costs for that property, especially if the person doesn't live there. When you insure a vacant home, it costs you more than if you were to be living in it, because there's a lot more variables when someone's not in the basement every day to make sure no pipes have burst, make sure the house hasn't been broken into. There's a lot more carrying costs to a vacant home. But if you have your house on the market and you are trying to sell it, but your price is too high and you are carrying that cost, that still includes your property taxes, your home insurance. You have to maintain your lawn, your home. There's a lot to actually carry in a house. So you have to consider that when you're thinking about what the actual dollar amount is that you want to get for that house. How much is it actually worth when you factor in all of those carrying costs?
So I've said this before. If your house is priced fairly according to the market, you can expect a $10,000 lower than ask price. Now, some people will interpret that and say, well, why don't I just tack on an extra $10,000 so there's room to negotiate? No, do not do that. That's not how it works.
It does not work that way.
You will get a few people that will look at your place, and then it will be crickets for 3 months until the listing expires, and then you will lower your price. Price your home appropriately. Please, for the love of God, listen to your realtor when they give you pricing advice. Don't just say, well, we're going to go higher so that we can have this room to negotiate.
Right.
It doesn't work that way. If your house is overpriced, people will know it's overpriced. The realtor will tell them it's overpriced. The only time that you can really get away with that is if you have out-of-town realtors, which we've been seeing more and more, come in here and just write whatever is, without doing any market research. They just write whatever's on the listing sheet and buy the house. And it baffles me. It baffles me because I see houses that sell from out-of-town agents, and I was like, well, I've got listings in that price range. Why didn't they look around? It's puzzling because you never hear of these people come in. All of a sudden, you just see pending, and it's so-and-so from a Winnipeg company. So, okay. Interesting.
It was probably the path of least resistance.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And I'll tell you, I mean, there are clients I'll travel for great distances. And there's some communities that I like to visit, but I do not want to show a house in Transcona.
Right.
I do not want to spend. Let's take Saint Vital. Pretty good market there. Probably bidding wars. Uh, you're going to spend a lot of time with a buyer trying to find a house.
Yep.
I do not want to be going back and forth to Winnipeg trying to do that because it puts my client at a disadvantage. And there may be no, it will take a lot of my time. I will simply refer that out to an agent in Winnipeg that is already in the area. And with Real Broker, we have agents all over the continent, not just the province. 22,000, I believe, is what we're at right now. I will happily refer that out to a team member in Winnipeg to take over that so they can serve their client properly.
Yeah.
And I wish it were the same in reverse. Now, in real, it is because, I've talked to Addison, and Jesse. They both will send business to us and have out here in Portage if they have clients coming this way, and vice versa.
Yep.
So, in serving your client, it is probably not the best practice to stretch yourself way outside of your community because you're going to, I mean, human nature, probably going to try to sell them the first thing they look at just so you don't have to keep doing that.
Right.
Yeah. Unfortunately,
exactly.
That seems to be the way it is.
Yeah.
And the same goes for a listing. And I've talked to an agent. The best example of this is somebody way up in Riding Mountain where I was showing properties. And that agent expressed their frustration, generally speaking, not to me about me, but about buyer clients coming up there and them wanting to have the listing agent show them everything. And then they write the offer and the listing agent simply gets the listing sale. They don't get anything on the buyer's side of it.
Right.
And they've done all the work. All the buyer's agent does has written the offer, and the buyer's agent has probably never seen the property. And then when they make a deal, they go through the whole thing again with attending the home inspection or the appraisal.
Right.
Yeah. So if you can't handle your client that far away, refer them out.
Right. Absolutely.
They're going to understand. Yeah. And probably appreciate, I can't take care of you to the level that you should be taken care of.
Right.
In this particular case, I have a secondary residence up that way, so I can take care of them in that area. I can stay up there for a week and look for people, help people look for places up in that area. So if you're looking at Riding Mountain area, give me a call.
No, perfect. Well, no, and I totally understand that, and I actually have a family member in Winnipeg who wants to work with me, and she had just said to me, I will call the person on the sign and go look at the place with them, and then if I want to write an offer for the place, I will just contact you to write the offer. That way, you don't have to drive in. And I said, I would never do that to any other agent because
Let's say that's the shittiest thing you can do to another agent.
Right. And, I don't know this other agent, but I was not willing to try to pull a fast one over them because it's not fair to consume their time to show the property when they're not getting that other side of the commission. So
I've seen that bite agents in the ass too. Like they come in and they actually, somebody will make a claim against their commission and they'll get a lot of it.
Mm-hmm.
Because the agent that wrote the offer had never seen the home.
Right.
Cool. I did that once early in my career, guilty as charged. 8 years ago, represented somebody. They went to an open house and they said, we really like this house. We want to make an offer. And I was brand new. I wrote the offer. I was very thankful to the agent that listed the property for having a kind of a mentoring type conversation with me about that. And I appreciated that. And he was very understanding, and didn't make an issue out of it. But at the end of the day, he made sure that I knew that I should not ever do that again.
Yeah.
And
Oh, absolutely.
I appreciated that very much. And I appreciated the fact that he also did not make a claim against the commission that he probably had a claim against.
Yep.
Yeah.
So we talked a little bit about lawyers earlier, and I'm just wondering if you can explain to me, in your experience, what a shortfall is in real estate.
A shortfall is when the lawyer has the funds and they have done all their searches and they realize there is not enough money to cover the purchase price of the home, or from the purchase price, rather, from the proceeds. There's not enough to cover outstanding debt. And that will include the outstanding mortgage, the tax owing, any other credit claims against the home, and the real estate commission, and quite possibly the lawyer fees if that was to come out of the proceeds. So in that case, somebody is, well, the seller unfortunately will have to find more money to pay all those bills, or somebody gets shortchanged.
Gotcha.
And quite often, the first person they ask to take the hit is you and I.
Ah,
Yeah.
even though we have done our job.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I've seen this before.
And is it
Now,
very common in your
no,
experience? No.
no, it's happened to me twice in a year. So it's not common. And in one scenario, I was double ending.
Mm.
The double ending means you're representing both sides of the transaction. And thankfully, the same lawyer was on both sides of the transaction too. The people that were selling the house needed to sell the house, or it was going up for tax sale. Something was going to happen. So they didn't have any money to add to the pot. The lawyer did not want to have that conversation with me. So they had my buyer call me. They left the room. They handed him the phone and said, call Ryan, see what he'll do. It was a little bit of money that had to come out of my commission to make the deal close. If I said no, the deal just died. So in that scenario, I agreed to it.
Because you were double ending it, so there was a little more
Yeah.
money on the table for you in the first place. Yeah.
It wasn't a huge time commitment deal. I wasn't pot committed. It was, I showed this person one property. They were a developer. They're a flipper, actually. They were going to resell it. So I had that business coming my way too, potentially. So we made the deal and it moved forward, and I just took a little bit less. Now, sometimes it's a lot less, like almost zero or
Yeah.
zero. Sometimes they don't have enough money that even if they eliminate the real estate commission, they can't close because there's other things. That's where it gets complicated.
Yeah.
I
So what
don't
happens
know.
in that scenario?
Well, I don't know. You're going to find a lawyer that will cut their fee to make a deal happen. I don't know that for sure. There might be some. You're never going to have a municipality agree to take less taxes in order to make a deal happen.
Right.
They would rather, well, I mean, they're not going to shortchange themselves. You're never going to get a bank to say, well, even though they probably should, they'll take less for this home when they would end up foreclosing on it anyway and selling it themselves. Which, brings up a whole other thing. When you have a foreclosure deal and you have this long schedule that is attached to that makes the buyer responsible for back taxes and back bills,
Right.
that's even more complicated.
And I've experienced a couple of those situations as the buyer's agent. You get into this situation where, well, and right or wrong, I didn't feel great about it, but I found out about the schedule after the fact when it was time to write the offer. And so now I have clients who fell in love with the property who want to make an offer, and the agent then sent the listing agent then sent the schedule with regards to the foreclosure schedule, and scared my clients off because they cannot inform you of what the money owing is on the property,
Yeah.
whether it be utilities, um, taxes, et cetera. So it scared my client off. So I mean, yeah, if you get into that situation as a seller, it gets very, very complicated.
Yeah, that's a scenario where I've been in that scenario recently. Same type of thing. And I said to my client, "Here's this schedule." I said, "You need to show this to your lawyer before we sign off on this deal."
Yeah,
And he's like, "Thank you. My lawyer says do not proceed because I'll be on the hook for all back taxes, all back utilities, and we have no way of finding out what that is, or any
right,
lien, also any liens against the property."
right.
So we walked away.
Yeah. So you don't want to end up in that situation as a seller.
Yeah. What else you got there,
What
fella?
else I got? Well, you want to flip over to city stuff?
Sure, man. I
Okay,
yeah, that's a nice shirt, by the way.
thanks.
No, I don't mean that.
Yeah, you do. Don't be jealous.
Yeah, I hope you wear that to
Um,
golf tonight.
so a couple things on the city front. Uh, the notice of public auction. Actually, let's touch on that before we move on, since it's
Right.
kind of real estate related.
So we kind of actually alluded to this coming up a little later. Notice of public auction. Basically, when you haven't paid your municipal taxes for a 2-year period, the home goes up for public auction. Uh, we have not had an auction actually come to fruition in quite some time, because normally a financial institution that carries a mortgage on a property will step up and clean this up between them and their client, because they don't want to see these things get sold. They become property of the city and then they transfer to someone else,
Right.
and for whatever the proceeds may be. And it's also, it's a little bit tricky when you're doing these public auctions, because you're going in, you're bidding on a house. You have to put a $10,000 deposit down that's non-refundable, and then pay the balance within, what was it, 20
20
days.
days.
So it's not the kind of thing where you're gonna, take a chance with your 10 grand, go to the bank and say, I need a mortgage now.
Right.
You should probably have that money sitting there if you're going to try to buy one of these properties. If you look at the valuations on the list that's on the website right now, like there's one there that's 180, or no, a total value of over $200,000. So there's some decent properties as far as value goes that are coming up, and right now there's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6,
Like 8.
10 of them. 10 of
10.
them. But I'm fairly confident in saying that there might be 2 or none by the time the auction rolls around.
Yeah, I do know that the city works with everyone best as possible to get everyone's taxes back in order, because as representatives of the city, we don't want to see people lose their homes to tax sale.
Yeah, no, that's not the ideal scenario, and I am happy to say that we haven't had one of these in a long time.
Yep, not since my time on council. I don't know. What about your 36 and a half years? Have you ever seen one?
You're a funny guy.
Yeah, I know.
I've
So
not. I don't
speaking
think
of
I
the
have.
city,
Maybe one,
oh,
like very early on, but I don't think so. I don't think I've ever seen one.
okay. Something else we'll be seeing coming up with the city is, I know that the first budget meeting has already taken place for 2025. That happened tail end of July, so that's how early the city starts planning for the following year's budget. And one of the things that are included in the budget are the community grants. So for all the organizations that are looking for a piece of the city pie, you know, with regards to funding their programs. They have the opportunity to apply for these community grants for 2025. So on the city's website, there is a link to the grant application. And even though these are grants for next year, 2025, the due date to have these applications into the city is 4:30 p.m. on September the 13th. So do not wait until January of next year if you want to apply for one of these grants for that year. These have to be applied for by the 13th of September, or you will miss out. You'll have to wait till next year.
It's very easy for a council to say no when the grant application comes in after the deadline. So get them in before the deadline, and whatever it is you're asking for, put it together and throw it in there. You never know. You may be successful.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah, I've seen all sorts of requests come out of at this time of year. So, well, we do approve a lot, but I've even seen businesses make requests.
Yeah,
I can't get into because that would be offside. But basic capital investment stuff for your business. I've seen them ask the city to cover that. Yeah.
just looking at the time here, we must have went on a rant because this is our longest podcast to date.
Well, we've been on a rant. We've been on a rant about a few things. God, there was something else I wanted to talk about. You have a cornhole thing coming up, don't you?
I do. So Saturday, August 17th, Lofty's Riverside Campground, the first annual cornhole tournament, sponsored by myself with Real Broker and Prairie CrossFit out of Winnipeg. We are looking for as many players as we can. You do not have to camp there. You can just come and pay your daily entry fee into the campground and your $5 to register, and you are in. There are cash prizes. There are free hot tub rentals for prizes. And where I'm headed later today is to go build some new sets of cornhole boards, because I think we are going to put up a set of boards as another prize. So that's what I will be doing later this afternoon. So if you are interested in signing up for this, then please get in touch with me.
Okay. We had a council meeting last Monday.
Yes.
And of course, I'm speaking future past.
Yes.
I wasn't there. Surprise, surprise. I was not there. I was away doing something. But we had hearings and just a couple of little explanations. People are applying for things like conditional uses or secondary suites. Of course, we don't know what happened because we're in the past as far as what happened there. I won't be there. I'm looking forward to seeing what happens. There are some conditional use applications coming up at that meeting, so curious to hear what will happen there. But yeah, we'll see.
Yeah.
There's a difference between like a business going for a conditional use. Conditional use was like it doesn't quite fit, but they're going to ask for permission to do it anyway. Whereas a rezoning is something completely different.
Right.
Yeah.
Where you're permanently changing what the
Yes.
what the land is used for.
Yeah. And you often see a conditional use when it's commercial space, particularly when it's a recreational thing. We've seen this a lot lately. We saw it with the studio on Sask. We saw it with the potential gym location, and we've seen it again last Monday. But that's all I'll say about that.
Yeah.
Go back and check out the council YouTube. It'll be on YouTube. It won't be live because we're still at the Prairie Fusion.
Right.
City Hall renovations are still going.
So it will be posted once the meeting has finished.
Yes.
I just wanted to give a little plug here. I know we're speaking in the future, but I'm going to say last night, August the 6th, I went and saw my two daughters, Lily and Catherine, dance at the Folklorama Irish Pavilion. And I really enjoyed myself. They have been in dance since they were 4 years old. They will be 15 this year, and so they are getting very, very good. And it's always an exciting night to watch them. That's what I did last night. Where were you?
I was at the Billy Idol concert.
Did you dress up, or did you just go
I
as
did. I did dress
regular
up.
Ryan?
No, I was full on, 80s guy.
Can we maybe throw a photo of
Oh,
that
geez. Hang on a
into the
second. Let me see if
description
I can
afterwards
find
here?
one here. Yeah. You think this is appropriate for the show, Colin?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
I think the nice thing about the Selling Portage podcast is it's an anything goes show. Obviously,
Yeah.
it's real estate first, but I like to think that we're just two dudes having a conversation, seeing what comes up. Oh boy, might have been best if you didn't show that.
Yeah. Now, how do I
It looks like
unshare the screen?
if if you were a wrestler from the late '80s, what would your name be?
That's what I was going for.
The schoolyard bully. Let's
The
call
schoolyard bully.
that.
Look at, I even had, I'll show you one more.
Or how about the
I
guy
even
with
had the dangly cross earring going. That was awesome.
the wrestler with the face only a mother could love? Something
Oh,
along
geez.
those lines. I'm just getting the shit talk ready for later today. You know me.
The what ready?
The smack talk.
Yeah,
I didn't mean to curse on our podcast.
Well, you can't. You don't have much of smack talk right now, man. I mean, you're now officially on a streak. One was enough for me to start trash talking you. You're on a losing streak now.
All streaks come to an end.
Yeah, we'll see.
All right, I think that's all I got for today.
All right, we're playing the front nine.
We're playing the front nine? Okay.
And yeah, there's some water there. So
Get my drive back in order and
make sure you bring a couple sleeves of balls because
I will definitely have to.
or go to the driving range and just pick like 10 of the best ones and bring All right, man.
All right, dude. We will see you next week. Well, we'll see you tonight, but we'll see you all on the Selling Portage podcast next week.
Maybe we'll start going live. We'll see.
Anything can happen.